Hey everyone, today we'll be doing a comparison between the Douk Audio T8 and the Schiit Lokius. Randy over at Cheap Audio Man already spoke about the T8 a while back and kind of compared it to the Loki, which is the 4-band version of Schiit's EQ. The Lokius is their 6-band version. I personally feel that the T8 is a little more comparable to the Lokius versus the Loki, except for the price point. If you're going by price point, then yeah, it would definitely be closer to the Loki instead of the Lokius. However, the features match closer to the Lokius. To start with the T8 is a 5-band equalizer with balance control and a volume attenuator. It has a tube buffer stage, so the sound goes through these tubes, but this doesn't add any amplification. On the back side, we have balanced and single-ended ins and outs and a 12-volt DC inlet. This guy comes with a 12-volt DC wall wart type plug. The Lokius, on the other hand, is a 6-band EQ, does not use tubes, and does not have any volume attenuation. It is strictly the EQ. On the back side, we have balanced and single-ended ins and outs, as well as a power switch. And on this unit, you have a 12-volt AC supply. This unit comes with a step-down transformer to 12 volts AC. Now let's talk about the bands. I'll go ahead and get my list. On this unit, we have 5 bands, and they are at 64 Hz, 256, 1K, 4K, and 16K. As for the Lokius, we have 6 bands, and those start at 20 Hz, 120, 400, then we go to 2K, 6K, and 16K as well. On the Lokius, the boost and cut are a little different. You have 12 decibels boost and cut on the outer frequencies, so on the highest and the lowest, and then you have 9 decibels plus or minus, and then you have 6 decibels plus or minus down the middle. As for the T8, you have plus or minus 8 decibels on all 5 of the bands. The T8 also has a headphone out here if you want to go ahead and use it with your headphones on a desktop situation, and then you have the volume attenuator. For desktop use, a quick turn is easier than going up and down on your computer. As for build quality, the T8 is remarkably very nicely built, really solid. It feels good in your hands, a little bit of weight to it. At $140, I think you're getting more than you bargained for with this package right here. The knobs are awesome. I love the texture on the knobs, and they have a really nice smooth feel to them. Like Randy said over on his channel, the markings don't align perfectly with the center, but you have that center feel and you know where it's at. The Lokius, on the other hand, much nicer finish, probably about the same thickness steel on it, but the finish itself is much nicer with a little graphic on top. The knobs, though, don't have that knurling on them, so they're not quite as comfortable on your hand, and it's not quite as smooth, honestly. The pots on these guys are a little bit rougher. A great feature that you do have on the Lokius is an EQ on and off right here. And one thing that I do notice is when we flip the EQ to the on position, you get about a 3 dB decrease in your sound volume, which I just adjust for in my preamp and give it a little more volume there. As for the bands, they are a little bit different, which I don't mind at all. It's enough to play with. The main difference is going to be the lowest band. On the Lokius, you have a 20 Hz, whereas the lowest on the T8 is a 64 Hz. When playing music, jazz with that 64 Hz is awesome because even your lowest bass or even a cello in classical is going to go to around 40, 45 Hz. So that 64 gives you a nice ability to fine tune. Now on the Lokius, a little bit different application. If I'm listening to hip hop or electronica, where you have those artificial super deep low basses, that's where you can play with this guy here. And for home theater use, that 20 Hz is much more useful. I was watching Copenhagen Cowboy on Netflix, and that particular series, a great series by the way, has a lot of Kubrick-esque musics, where you have these very deep and long sustained bass notes. And for nighttime listening, it was a little too much for me. I headed over to the Lokius and I brought that 20 Hz down, and it was a much easier listening experience. I wasn't going to wake up the whole house with that series. Easy fix. Another difference between the two units is that the T8 uses a tube buffer, so you get a little bit of that tubey sound. Not as tubey as I got with the Dayton Audio HTA200. With that amplifier, I got a much larger holographic image, maybe because you have extra tubes that's going through. This is just going through one tube per side. You might potentially also be able to get a more tubey sound if you switch these tubes out, but that's not something I'm interested in at $140 still playing with tubes. At that point, I'd probably spend a little more money and get a unit that's a little bit more upmarket that already comes with something like a 12AX7. As for noise, the T8 was definitely a little bit noisier, not that noticeable though, honestly. I'm very happy with both of these units, but I will say that this guy is a little noisier, although not as noisy as a Dayton Audio HTA 200. In a moment, I'll play a sound recording of just the ambient room noise, then just the sound of the preamp, then the preamp going through the Lokius, and finally the preamp going through the T8. You'll notice they progressively get a little bit louder. I would suggest you listen to this wearing your headphones. Those recordings were done with a Sennheiser MKH614 microphone into a Sound Devices Mix-Pre 6 field recorder. The microphone gain was set to 50. And the microphone was placed 1 inch from the mid-range driver. In my normal listening position, the noise wouldn't bother me at all. They're both super fun units to play with your sound. I won't talk much about sound quality because the nature of an EQ is for you to fine tune it how you like, so that's open to interpretation. If you don't want to play with your sound with the EQ feature and are trying to fix room problems, I probably suggest a DSP room correction device instead. And if you're interested on how tubby the T8 sounds, I've went ahead and made some recordings. Now I don't have any copyright-free music, so the music I used is from YouTube's free library. Those are in 128 kilobit MP3 files, which I played through my DAC, which upconverts to 24-bit 384, and that analog signal was captured by the Sound Devices Mix-Pre 6 and recorded in 24-bit 192. Now again, this is not adding any more information, I'm just trying to give the recording the best chances of showing you the difference. So the link below will have the WAV files, and you'll have the original file, and you'll have one with the T next to it. That's the sound going through the T8. Let me know what you think about the differences. Again, it's very slight with this unit, but it's subtle there. I feel it's a little bit smoother. You lose a little bit of detail, maybe a little reverb to the bass notes. Again, I suggest listening with headphones. I decided to go this route instead of setting a mic on my speakers. That way you're not hearing my room and my particular speakers. You're just hearing the output from the T8 themselves. Please let me know what you think. This is just my 4th video on this channel, so I am making a few changes. I'd be glad to answer any questions you have in the comments, and thanks everybody who commented. I've had a few rude comments, gentlemen complaining about the room noise and how he'd hate to hear the music in my space. That actually wasn't the room noise, it was that my lavalier mic was a little too hot. This time I'm trying with a boom mic to see if I can get a little bit of audio for you guys. My final thoughts, I love both of these units. I feel that the T8 is a little better suited for music, whereas the Lokius has a little more versatility. What I would love to see Douk do is create a more hi-fi rack unit without the headphone and the volume attenuator. Maybe that is what's causing some of that noise issue. You can drop it down a little bit by removing those 2 units and leaving this as an EQ with the tube buffer, and definitely adding that 20 Hertz frequency. And a tube bypass switch will be wonderful as well, so you can hear it without the tubes and just EQ, and when you want a little tubiness, flip that on. As for Schiit, well, they have something for everybody on their webpage. I'm sure you'll have a product you like there. They have more tube preamps, a little more advanced, and they have a higher end balanced EQ as well. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.